want to go back and kind of check out this video, here we go. Welcome to Sarah's kitchen. I'm Sarah, welcome to my kitchen. Okay, so we made this dough last night and we mixed it, and I'm showing you guys. I haven't touched it. I want you to see what it looks like. I'm gonna bring you guys closer. When it rises, look how high it came. It has probably easily tripled. Now, sometimes it'll only double in size. Don't panic. So this is last night. I could have late night really proofed it again, but I wanted to wait and show you guys and have this on footage because it really, still to this day, so many people get hiccups with it. So it's still on my live on Instagram. Go see it if you missed me making it. Once I made it, I let it sit not in the oven, just in the kitchen. The plastic is still on it and the towel. Let it rest. And you can see after a few hours, it's bubbling. I think by 10 o'clock at night when I checked on it, it had doubled in size. And this morning, it's all the way up. Here's all you gotta do. It is so super simple, my friends. I have to make it for you to see how simple it is. But before I pop this out and roll it, I have my half of a cup butter. Okay, I'm putting this on my little stove. And today I'm gonna make it a little different. Somebody asked me last night, why don't I make more coffee stuff? And I thought, hey, why don't we make it coffee-ish, right? So butter is melting. If it's room temperature, you don't need to melt it, but I like to melt it because it's not really as soft as I want it to be. I will add about 1 tablespoon of coffee, instant coffee, right? I have Nescafe, because we have Nescafe Taster's Choice. Let's put a little bit more. I wanna get that coffee smell in there. Ooh. And we're just gonna melt the butter and the coffee. And then I have this vanilla sugar I found at the market. I don't know, I've never used it before, but why not? It can't hurt. It's vanilla sugar. So I'm going to use this for my sugar. And I love cinnamon with everything, you guys know that. I am all about spices. Cooking with them, baking with them. So here's the vanilla sugar. Ooh, this is really good. You know, Russians, Hungarians, they use this a lot. And my sister-in-law is Hungarian. She had a Hungarian chef over once baking for us, making cookies, and she used this, and I thought, why don't I have this? But it's just vanilla sugar. Oh my God, it smells so good. Woo, it's strong vanilla sugar. So this is perfect. My butter is melting. And as that's going, I will start with the dough. And you guys can see, this stumps so many people still, and I don't know why. I feel like I will show you guys as many videos as you like to see this. And if your YouTube isn't seeing my face, it's because I want you guys to get a clear view of my dough. Move the plastic wrapping, set it aside. Have your dish ready. I liked using these ramekins, the spring form. They pop out and you don't have to worry about it coming out perfectly or not. Now you can also use, I keep telling you guys, I will repeat, you can use coconut oil, you can use substitute whatever you like. We're gonna flour our surface, right? Because this dough is so wet. It is so wet. And then we're just gonna pop the dough out. All of this dough, it smells like beer, like fermentation. That is absolutely normal. That's the yeast. It's gooey, it's sticky. This right here can become your brioche bread. This right here can become your gata that I made. This is the most fantastic dough you'll ever come across. Please make it, perfect it, and use it over and over again. I'm gonna scrape down the bottom of my pot because you know how much I hate wasting. I just hate wasting. Here we go. We're gonna scrape this down and pop it in there. All of it, all this goodness. This can easily, this dough, make you guys 2 to 3 batches of Cinnabons, by the way. So don't use all of it for one batch, unless you have a really big dish. You don't wanna overstack. A lot of you have told me that you feel like it hasn't cooked through, it's still beery, you let it sit too long, it may do that. So, more flour, right? I'm gonna rub it on my hand. And then we're just gonna fold it. All we're doing is cutting, taking the corners. You can use a bench scraper. I just love feeling my dough. This dough I like using. I'm putting more flour around it so I can scrape it. I have no problem touching this, getting it all over me. And as long as it's white and I have nothing to worry about color with turmeric in my nails, then I will be all over this. All right, that's all you do. You do not need to knead it. Hello from Belize. I have my YouTube is going live, so they're watching me. I can't really socialize with you guys. You've probably overcooked it or over kneading if it's coming out hard. Now also, you know, adding frosting on top keeps it moist, and Cinnabons are something that once they sit, if you don't like them, you want them soft, just stick them in the toaster oven. I will cut this in half just like that, and notice I didn't knead it. So you don't need to knead it, you just pop it out. Here's what's gonna happen. This is one, and here's the other one. Sometimes I make Cinnabons and then I make gata, or I make a brioche out of this. Perfect. All right, we're gonna pop this onto that plastic that we had. The plastic that was over, covering the dough as it rose. Here it is, just keep it here, nice and moist, right? I don't need to wrap it up. I'm not gonna do anything with it. I'm not gonna save it. I'm gonna go ahead and prepare it right after this. All right, and my butter and coffee has melted. And this is all you do, is you literally just roll it out, okay? You have flour on your surface you need, okay? Otherwise, this is very moist. It's very wet, it'll stick, it's soft and gooey. There it is. And then flip it. It's super, super simple. I think if it's your first couple of times, you'll feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna mess this up. You're not, I promise you. Get more flour on it and rub your hand over it. So if it has wet parts that need more flour, it gets it. And then if you feel more comfortable, you know what? Put it in the refrigerator. Put it in the refrigerator after you proof it, which was what I just did. So imagine I would refrigerate that other half. Because once it holds on, it becomes a little bit more not so soft. then you might have an easier time with it. But don't refrigerate it for like 5 hours. Just leave it in there for maybe a half an hour just so it just becomes a little easier, harder, not so melty, not so soft and buttery. See how it's sticking to my surface? I need to fix that. So I just add a little bit more flour, or you can just lift it just like that and just flip it. There you go. Just play around with it. You're not gonna kill it. It's just a dough. It's really user friendly as long as you don't overcook your yeast, which means don't put it in the oven for it to rise. You don't need to expedite it. Sometimes it'll take 5 hours, sometimes it'll take 8 hours. Just let it do its thing. It depends on so many things, by the way. The weather, your kitchen, how hot it is, how cold it is, it really does. Look at that. That's so beautiful, right? Look how thin. You don't want it to be too thick, okay? Now, when you are ready to fill this, what you do is you get a brush or you use your hand and you just, and I'm wearing black again. Is that not the case every time I make dough? Brush the excess flour off. There will be plenty. You just want to brush it off. Maybe this is what you're doing if your dough comes out and it's hard. The flour is going to absorb all the moisture and it's going to come out hard. So brush the flour off before you do the filling. And then also, after you do the filling and you want to roll it, you want to also brush the flour off on the reverse side as you're rolling. So keep a close eye on this. This is one tutorial video you don't want to skip. I'm very visual, and I know that certain things you can fast forward through. So many of you ask me for the written recipes in my Instagram and my YouTube, and I will put that. I promise you, by the end of this month, I'm out searching for the right person. But let's not get sidetracked. Here's the butter, melted butter and coffee, instant coffee. This is perfect. And I didn't add any water to the coffee. I don't need the liquid. I just need it to be flavorful. Now to this, I will add my vanilla sugar. Let's see, how many scoops? We want a 1/4 cup of cinnamon and 1/2 cup of sugar in here. That's 1/2 cup of sugar. Hello everyone. 1/2 cup of sugar is in this coffee and butter concoction, right? And then why don't I just sprinkle the cinnamon over myself? If I can open it. My hand has so much dough all over it that, there, okay, just making sure it's open. Smells so good. My kids are gonna come home from school and be happy. Here we go. Sprinkle the cinnamon. So you want measurements, I say a 1/4 cup or as much or little as you like. We love cinnamon. I remember when I was a little girl, I would sit and eat it with a spoon. How weird is that? And then a few years back, this whole challenge was going on, and I'm thinking, what challenge is that? I love cinnamon on its own. I had peculiar taste buds, let me tell you. I love tamarind. I'm more acidic, and I love my sweets too, but I'm more into sour and acidic things. I don't know what that says about me, but I like savory, salty, savory, pickles, chutneys. Persian pickles are really sour. They're very vinegary. Oh my God. My husband and I can sit and just just eat it out of the bowl. But don't get me wrong, I love my sweet, and can you tell I like cinnamon? It's covered. It is covered all cinnamon. Now, here's my butter, sugar, and coffee. You can brush this on, which I will after I get it all on there. Hi, everybody. So my Instagram live friends, we're doing YouTube live also. I've noticed that this is the most convenient thing for me and you guys, because my live videos on Instagram disappear after 24 hours. And when you guys, some of you catch it now, some of you catch it in a little bit. Some of you will catch it tonight. And then if you have more questions about it, I just say to you, oh, it's on YouTube. YouTube, on the other hand, I don't know, no one's complained about me chit-chatting with you guys on Instagram while I'm doing the live, but I want to keep it minimal. I don't want to drive them crazy either. Here we go. Get all that in there. I woke up last night, had such a bad night's sleep. I think a coyote, or I'm just gonna brush this so somewhat becomes even. It doesn't have to be, but somewhat. The butter and the sugar, this will all melt and get into everywhere. But yeah, at 4 o'clock, a coyote chowed down on something. I don't know what it was. And my dogs, they go crazy. They bark. Woke up the whole house. I had to come downstairs, make sure they're okay. And I don't know how you guys are, but if I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I come down and I turn on lights and I'm talking to the dogs, then Darius wakes up, Mom, what's happening? Why are the lights on? And Giselle starts talking. Now I tuck everyone into bed and I can't sleep. I'm just wide awake. Okay, well, what am I gonna do now? Should I go cook? I can't cook because then I'll wake up the rest of the house too. All right, here we go. Now, here's something you can do, and I wanna tell you guys. You can roll this way, right? So then your Cinnabons are fatter, shorter, fatter. Or you run this way, and your Cinnabons are skinnier, but you'll have more buns. Decide. Either way is gonna work just fine. Just think of the dish you have that you're gonna put your Cinnabons in. My dish that I have is deeper, but less in diameter. So I would rather go fatter. I have a feeling this is gonna make 2 batches for me. Just take your dish, spray it. I'm absolutely obsessed with this spray. It has butter and flour, so it really is just simply foolproof. And it just helps me with time. Hot water lemon in the morning. Okay, now I'm going to roll this up. And you know what? A lot of yapping, but I think I'm gonna roll it up this way. Bring it nice to the edges, your butter. And again, if you feel like you wanna add more sugar, do it in the icing, I say. See how I'm brushing it off? Because there's flour underneath this. There's flour on the edges, and that's gonna harden your dough. So brush it off. Take your time, tuck it in, make it really nice and tight. Now notice, I was going to say was that this was its first rise, and I know I've told you guys give it 2 rises. What I've been doing is this will be its second rise. So as I roll it and cut it, I'm gonna let it sit in here in my dish, for about an hour to 2. And I timed it today. I would go live with you guys. Then I'm gonna go take the dogs for a walk and get them their exercise and get some steps in for myself. And then I'll come in, and by the time I come back, which will be about an hour, depending on how much energy I have, not sleeping last night, this will rise and they'll puff up. I've shown you guys so many times, but I will never get enough of that. I think it's such a beautiful sight. It's like, yay, you grew. Okay, here we go. Brush this all away, right? And then I'll pop it in the oven for anywhere between, I say 35 to 45 minutes. I feel like I should really say 40 to 50 minutes, depending on your oven, depending on how thick you guys cut this, depending, all of that takes, you know, precedence to your baking, the time, the temperature. I can't, nobody can really tell you how long to bake something for, right? I mean, it's not a meringue where I say it has to be an hour. Even that, I feel like I tried the last time, it didn't come out right. And then I'm going to make you guys my almond cake, because I have some requests for Passover. No eggs, no flour, no rice. And then some of you said, yes, eggs are okay. So it's egg whites. I'll make it, you guys decide. And then because for Passover, my Jewish friends eat macaroons, you know, the coconut macaroons, and those are with egg whites. So you guys are confusing me. Tell me what you like. I will make it. The other thing I want to perfect is my meringue, what is it called? Provolone? I'm telling you, my sleepless nights are getting to me. It's the coyote season. They're coming out. The cold is gone. They're going to come around and start attacking. Be careful. Watch your animals. I don't know why this part is so long. I don't understand how that happened. Were we so off? Look at all of this flour. This is the only thing that is going to be time consuming, and it's the only thing I can think of that makes your dough hard is kneading it and not taking this excess flour off. The flour that you need for it not to stick to the surface right there is what's going to ruin your dough if you bake it with it. It's just gonna harden. It's gonna harden, it's gonna suck all the liquid out of your dough, all that milk and moisture, and it'll ruin it. So get all that flour off. Look how much flour there is. And it needs the flour just so it doesn't stick. It's such a soft dough. It's not a plastic dough. It's not store-bought. It doesn't have any additives. God knows what kind of stuff is in there. I remember once I was at, I've told you guys this before, the Cinnabon counter at the mall. That's how I got into this, was my kids were obsessed with that like pop-up stand of Cinnabons, and they were asking for it over and over again. And I asked the guy, you know what, can I see your ingredients, list of ingredients? I'm just curious what we're eating. And he's like, sure. If you buy a box of the Cinnabons, it'll come with it, the label. And I said, okay, well, I don't want a box. Can you just give me a box that has the label and I'll read it? There was, I think, 750 things on that label. And then he says to me, there are some secret ingredients that we can't list. I just went, what? So I showed the kids, I said, do you see when I tell you don't buy these things outside? once in a while is okay, but we can't be doing this 3 times a week. Here we go. I don't know if you guys can see. I cut from the middle. If you guys saw me with Miss Jenner, I cut from the middle and I give it a good height. There it is. And I just pop it. I usually pop it in the middle. Yeah, I'm gonna pop it in the middle. I can never do it differently than what I'm used to. Pop it in the middle and just work yourself out. You don't have to do it this way. You can start from the corners. I just kind of go that way. Don't squish them and don't unsquish them. Does that make sense? Leave them nicely together. Don't overpack and don't leave bare spaces. I don't know who Aura's talking to, but she's having a conversation with someone. You see, just work your way. Yeah, this is gonna fill out my dish. And if it doesn't fill it out, trust me, when it rises and puffs up, the whole thing is going to be cinnamon rolls. Or in today's case, coffee, vanilla coffee, cinnamon. How good is that? That just sounds really good. I think somebody asked me for a coffee recipe yesterday. Why don't I bake with coffee more often? This is for you, love. That's it. Voila. Now we're gonna let this sit. You can't use almond flour for this because it has to rise. You can't, unfortunately. You can use it, make it with no egg, vegan, but you can't become carb-free. And somebody said to me that they tried it with the gluten-free flour that's called Cup for Cup, and that worked. So if you want to go that way, you can do it. But flat almond flour, it's heavy and dense and it needs a rise, and it won't work. It just won't work. Okay, so now this is gonna sit. I'm literally going to cover it with the towel. That's it. And it'll be ready in an hour or 2, whenever you're ready. Go ahead, stick it in the oven, 40 to 50 minutes, 350. Don't rush it, let it take its time. Once it rises in that dish, it'll puff up and come all the way to the top. And so that's when you know you want to stick it in the oven. Cook it for 40 to 50 minutes, 350, nice and slow. You don't want to rush it. And then take it out. If you want to do an icing, feel free to. My kids, sometimes I do icing just to get them going, and they like the cream cheese icing. Cream cheese, a little heavy cream, and sugar, powdered sugar. Use your own judgment and consistency. You want it to have enough heavy cream so it's loose and it gets everywhere. Pour it on there when it's nice and hot so it oozes into it. Seeps into the cinnamon buns. All right, if you're on YouTube, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe and the notification bell. That way you will be notified every time I go live or post a video. And don't forget to give me thumbs up or write me an email. And